Here. Year after year, this is what politicians do because their goal in life is to get reelected. I'm here to tell you all, Republican, Independent, and Democrat, those days are done. I'm going to try to run for office for the next 6 months, not promising you anything. No, we're done. We are 16, you know what? I'm not even going to say that anymore. We're not $16 trillion in debt. If you think we are responsible for our current Medicare and Social Security liabilities, we're about $100 trillion in debt. The unemployment rate is not 8.1%. If you want to count people who have become so discouraged they're not even looking for work anymore, we have an unemployment rate of 15 to 16%. I know, it's probably north of there. This beautiful, vibrant economy out here is dying. We have huge problems. And I'm convinced the only way we're going to deal with these problems is I want a politician to look you in the eyes and say, mister, the days of giving you things is over. It's not right and we're broke. So I'm going to ask you to grow up, roll up your sleeve with me, and let's finally take care of these problems. And you need look no further than one simple issue, the hot one. The big one, the one that when every politician touches it, they die, right? Medicare. Medicare. Because the rule has always been politicians don't go near it because we don't want to offend our senior citizens. The minute you say you're going to do something to Medicare, here come the commercials, here come the ads. Paul Ryan lookalike pushing grandma in a wheelchair off a cliff. Here they come. I had a debate last week with Tammy Duckworth, and she had her talking point down. That Joe Walsh, he wants to end Medicare as we know it. That Joe Walsh, she must have said that to herself in her sleep. End Medicare as we know it. Let me give you a dirty little secret. God bless you. Somebody else?
It's 14 hours.
Every Republican and every Democrat in Washington, D.C., from President Obama all the way down to little old Joe Walsh, every one of us knows that unless we do something to Medicare, it's gone in 10 years. We all know it. Dick Durbin knows it. Dick Durbin had a private meeting with businessmen last week, and he told them that. Dick Durbin doesn't say that publicly, no. Democrats don't say that publicly, but they know it, just like we know it. Obama knows it. So, for any politician, I'm just talking about that one issue, for any politician to look at you this year and say, that guy wants to end Medicare as we know it because he wants to reform it, they're lying to you. Because Tammy Duckworth knows, and Barack Obama knows, they know, guys. Let's not beat around the bush. Life's too short. We're in trouble. I'll say it again. Tammy Duckworth knows, and Barack Obama knows, that if we don't do anything to Medicare, which is what they're advising, it's gone in 10 years. How terrible. How terrible that you would lie about that. How terrible. Now their hope is, remember this is just one issue, their hope is that they can scare enough people, Medicare, that they can win an election. My belief is that we have enough Americans, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30 years old, who just aren't going to buy that kind of crud anymore. They get it. They get the fact that right now, take the 16 trillion. Say we're only 16 trillion in debt, and by the time I'm done talking, we're done talking in an hour, that will go up. You know we're borrowing $4 to $5 billion a day. Hey, I want to say that again because it's kind of fascinating. Your government doesn't spend $4 to $5 billion a day. Your government borrows. We spend a lot more every day. Remember, we borrow, for every dollar we spend, we're borrowing 42 cents of that. Borrowing, borrowing, borrowing. We borrow $4 to $5 billion a day. And I love to do this. I wish I were in Congress 6 years ago. If George W. Bush were my president, George W. Bush, who added $4 trillion to our debt in 8 years, shame on him. I wish I were there then. I would have rattled on against him every single day like I do this president. But understand something, guys, to my Republicans and my Democrats, if you're mad at W for adding $4 trillion to the debt in 8 years, Obama's added about $5 trillion in 3.5. There's a senator from Oklahoma, a guy named Tom Colbert. I want you to think about this, who has put out a book. I'm about done. I'll end and then we'll take questions. He's put out a book called The Time Bomb, or The Debt Bomb. In that book, he says, by the year 2020, at the rate we're going, by the year 2020, your government in Washington will only have enough money to do 3 things. Take care of our Medicare obligations, take care of our Social Security obligations, and pay the interest on our debt. The current rate we're on will only have enough money to do those things. Do you care about defense? There won't be any money. Do you like the Department of Education? Doesn't matter, there won't be enough money. Go on and on. Taking care of the poor and needy won't be enough money. I'll close with this. I was part of a press conference in Washington this past week. I am a co-sponsor on a bill, a bipartisan bill called No Budget, No Pay. And it's really simple. It says if you're a member of the House or you're a member of the U.S. Senate, if you don't pass a budget that year and turn a budget into law that year, as a member of the House and a member of the Senate, guess what? You don't get paid that year. No budget, no pay. It's a bill by Jim Cooper of Tennessee, a Democrat. Look at this, Joe Walsh with a Democrat. I love it. And folks, I'm not one of the wealthier members of Congress. For me to go a year and not get paid, I'd be in a, sweetie, we'd be in a heap of trouble. But look, if your congressmen and women and your senators can't do that one simple first job responsibility, they should not get paid. I am going to push this bill as hard as I can. I'm going to push it at John Boehner and my leadership to bring this up for a vote in the House. Privately, most members of Congress would vote for this because they'd be so afraid not to vote for it. What we've got to try to do is get this bill to the floor for a vote. That's the hard part, because most politicians don't want this to happen. We're beyond normal fixes. We're beyond normal fixes. I'm going to stop there. We'll open this up to thoughts and questions. You remember, guys, about anything. You can ask me a question about anything personal, political, or policy. I'll try to give you as straight an answer as I can. We've got one rule whenever we get together, any town hall. respect each other. Liberal, conservative, Dem, Republican, come home from Afghanistan tomorrow, stay there for the next 100 years, whatever your opinion is, respect each other. That's it. So, let me stop there. I'm going to grab my coffee and my water. Let's go at it. Who's got a first interesting thought or question? You, young man.
Regarding your thought on what you said about people liking to basically vote for people who lie to them and are scared off by people who tell the truth. If Cook County is a living testament to that theory, how well it works, that nothing is. But my thought is, you know, the great American way, the electorate democracy, when you have a dirtbag indicted for bribery a week before an election, and you have an upstanding servant of people like Madigan support him, just sometimes, you know, elections votes change through that method. I just kind of lose hope. What's your thought on that?
I'm going to give you a big response, and then I'm going to focus on Illinois. My big response is this. Generally, I got to be careful. Oh, when have I ever been careful? Generally, we need better people serving in office. How's that?
Yay.
Yay. But I want to be honest with you. A lot of this is your fault.
All of it.
A lot of it. We all had the old aunt or grandmother or grandfather who said, oh, you know what, Joey, you get the government you deserve. A lot of truth to that. Here's the other thing you got to remember, guys. Raise your hand if you would want to do what I do. Raise your hand. We got 1, 2 brave souls, 2 crazy people. I can just tell you, most people never, ever run for an office like this. Let me ask you another question. And I'm not just saying this because there's a Duckworth camera here, but raise your hand if you would want to walk around naked for a year and everything you've done since 8th grade, everything becomes public knowledge. Raise your hand if you want to go through that. Oh, where are my 2 brave souls? I'm telling you, hey, that's what we do. Literally, it's become so hard to run for office that the best Democrats and the best Republicans would never think about doing this. Who wants to do this? And it's not just you. Let's say you had a brother that declared bankruptcy 4 years ago. There it is. Let's say you had a sister that hired an illegal immigrant to cut her grass 3 years ago. There you go. Everything. You had a next door, no, not next door neighbor. Your son, your 24-year-old son has a drug habit. Doesn't matter. Every single thing is out there for the world to see. That's a lousy way to elect people. So we end up, I would argue, with, you know what? A lot of people who probably shouldn't run. So we need to improve the way we elect people. You all need to tell the media and political people, you know what? I don't care what Joe Walsh did in high school. Joe Walsh, you know me, I'm an open book. I lost a home 4 or 5 years ago. I've struggled financially. Okay. I don't care about that. Tell me what you're going to do. Same thing with Tammy Duckworth. What are you going to do about Obamacare? What are you going to do about taxes? What are you going to do about this debt? What are you going to do about energy? Just tell me what you're going to do about these issues. Because you know what, guys? Everybody's got stuff, right? You have stuff. You've got stuff. We all have stuff. All we want from our candidates is, tell me what your stuff is. Just tell me what your stuff is. I'll decide if it's a big deal. So